Hey, Brothers Troy. I needed to check my math with you, make sure that I was doing this correctly. I did a couple things here. I put a couple extra rows underneath here. I also brought this into Excel because it's the same data. It's just an app that I'm a little bit more used to using, but it doesn't really matter. So here's the same months that we had up there before. Install active. I didn't change these other than I changed the colors, right? Because these are things that essentially are additive. The installs and the unarchives, and the red was things that we subtracted, and then the net of it. So here's what I did is I did the average of the previous 6 months. So that's that 6 months there, which was 11, right? And then the number of restarts, again, average, which also here, then the average of, actually, let me not do that. No, that's fair. That's what I did there. Sorry, what I did here was I said I'm going to add these two together, and then I'm going to subtract 2 and those two, and then I'm going to get that there, so 7.5. And I said, all right, so those are I call those my average new users. I call these my average number of restarts, average lost paid customers, and average that get lost in the trial. And then sorry about that noise. It's my dog. And I said, okay, fine. So if we did 798 in April, in March, then we add 7.5 to that, and you got 805, right? And then just keep adding 705, just assuming that you just keep going with 705 for a while. Just because that was your 6 months average. So 705 or 7.5, and you go from 805 to 813. Each one again adding 7.56, right? And so that's what we're doing here. Then I said, okay, well, what would it take if we were to double this? And I have a whole big long description here about in Evernote that I was ready to walk through how I think we can do it. But putting that aside about how. Let me just sort of explain my theories here. So, in fact, let me just do this. What I was doing is I was taking the average of 11 for the last 6 months and saying, well, let's double it, right? And so if it's doubled, then we're getting 22 new folks into the trial. And I said, well, what if we could increase, by the work we do, we could increase the number of restarts by 10%. So I multiply times 1.1, right? So that becomes 1.5. And let's say I could reduce the number of loss by 25%. So I multiply that times 0.75. So that comes out to 2.3. Average loss in the trial, I said let's just speed. Also multiply that times 0.75. So again, we're talking about a 25% reduction in loss during the trial. I think we can actually do a lot better than that. And then, and so that comes out to 20, right? So here's the deal. So then I take that 20 and I say, well, instead of adding 7.5 to this last month, let's actually, I guess it really should be, this is still 798, right, for the last month. And now we're going to take equals 798, and we're going to add 20. Okay, boom. All right. And then from here, we're going to add 20 and 20 and 20 and 20, right? And you can just see we just keep adding 20 all the way along. Let me just do this and go down. So there we go. Okay, cool. And that number there, make that a little bigger. Okay, so this is the scenario in which this scenario here is really everything related to this column here, where we're averaging 20. So this is where you're at plus 20. Plus 20, okay? Whoops, let me actually do that. Plus 20, okay. So when we're at plus 20, right, a month, that's sort of how that grows out, all right? So at the end of 12 months, instead of having 888, we've got 1,000, right? And then I said, crud, what did I say here? What is this one here? Oh, okay, got it. Sorry. So then I just did subtraction, and I said, all right, what if, so 838 minus 813 is 24. In fact, once again, let me just make these smaller whole numbers. Okay, so 25. So the difference is really the difference between 20 and 7.5 every month, and as these numbers grow, you sort of see how this grows out. But it really is growing a total of 13 every month, which you can see 20 and 7. The difference there is 13. So that's how I go from 86 to 99, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. 111 to 123, an increase of 12 or 13 each month, right? And then here's, again, more assumptions. I said, all right, fair enough. So if the difference I'm making by bringing some expertise to the company is I'm doubling this number, right? Or I'm going from 7.5 to 20, right? Which means I'm getting all these extra people in by applying my expertise to what you do. I know that sounds highfalutin, but I'll leave it there. And then assuming that you're getting $270 from each of these folks, then for the first 25 additional folks I'm bringing in, that's $6,000 for that month. And then that's that much for the second month, and that much in the third month. And I know this has a long multiplying effect over time, right? I get it. And maybe I need to look at it, but I just looked at it from a year perspective and said, okay, that's $256,000. And I'm concerned, to be honest. I'm concerned that $256,000, I'm not making a big enough impact. And because on top of it, you're probably going to need some additional, well, I don't know if you're going to need additional tech support to cover the extra number of people that are coming in there. The extra 148 customers, maybe not. But it's still not what I was looking for. Now, if I did this and I said, well, if we could triple that with our effort, then that's $500,000. That's then kind of interesting, or at least I think that's where I feel like I'm earning my keep. You'd have to do a whole lot more advertisement and introduce a lot more budget, which I can talk you through in a separate video. But I first wanted to check to see about some of my key assumptions. First of all, did I set this up correctly? Second of all, is this the right multiplier? Thirdly, am I doing it right here by saying, well, here's the difference, right? The difference that I'm making is the difference between this, and then I'm multiplying that out times 270, and then I'm summarizing it because this is the sum of that number there. So let me know what you think. Sorry about the long video.